Bereits zum 3. Mal wird sich in einer Woche der Sommerpause alles um das geschriebene Wort drehen. Willkommen bei der LoRa Literaturwoche. Vom 1. bis 7. August öffnen wir den Äther für Gedichte, Kurzgeschichten, Buchbesprechungen, Autorinnenporträts, Hörspiele, Romanauszüge und vieles mehr. Liebe Hörerinnen, liebe Hörer, herzlich willkommen bei Radio LoRa. Heute Abend mit einer Besonderheit der Literaturwoche. Uns geht es nicht nur darum, möglichst viele verschiedene Facetten vom geschriebenen Wort in den Mund zu nehmen und über den Äther nach ganz Zürich und in die Welt zu schicken. Wir wollen mit der Literaturwoche auch einen Raum eröffnen für junge Autoren im Studio live zu lesen. Zu Gast bei mir ist Enzo Scavone. Er wird uns in den folgenden 60 Minuten einen Einblick in sein Œuvre geben. Herzlich willkommen, Enzo. Schön, dass du es zu LoRa geschafft hast.
Danke für die Einladung.
In den 60 Minuten, die uns jetzt erwarten, werden wir einen Einblick bekommen in das, was Enzo umtreibt, das, worüber Enzo schreibt. Es ist nochmal, sonst wäre es ja auch nicht LoRa, speziell. Enzo Scavone schreibt über Begebenheiten, die er erlebt hat, die er aber nicht nur erlebt hat, sondern die er in geschriebenes Wort transformiert, die ihm Grundlage sind für Tagebücher, Skizzen, Monologe und Gedichte. Enzo, vielleicht kannst du uns einen kleinen Impuls geben.
Anfang des Jahres hatte ich beschlossen, nach New York zu gehen für einen Monat im Juni und dort bei Open Mics aufzutreten. Das sind offene Bühnen, wo man einfach hin kann, auftreten kann und Texte, die man selbst geschrieben hat, vortragen kann. Und ich hatte eben am Anfang des Jahres beschlossen, das zu tun, habe bis zum Juni Texte geschrieben. Im Juni bin ich nach New York geflogen und habe dort diese Texte vorgetragen. Und das habe ich schlussendlich zusammengefasst in diesem Text, den ich heute vortrage, der aus Tagebucheinträgen besteht.
Du nimmst uns jetzt mit auf eine Reise nach New York. Es wird einen Eindruck geben in das, was du erlebt hast, in das, was du in New York auf offenen Bühnen den Zuhörerinnen und Zuhörern vorgetragen hast. Steigen wir ein, verlassen wir Zürich, fliegen wir Tausende von Kilometern über den Atlantik und befinden wir uns in New York.
May 28th, Saturday. Heute war ein Tag. Actually, seeing that I will go to New York soon, I should write my journal entries in English. Today was a day. Didn't really want to meet anyone and didn't really meet anyone. I visited a friend of mine. Other people were there. We had some small talk. That was it. In a small talk, when it comes to telling insignificant things about myself, I can't quite think of anything. I wanted to tell them the important things about me, the things that matter. But then it would have gotten weird. So I kept to myself. Kept to myself that I have this huge feeling of displacement influencing me. As an Italian, born and raised in Germany and living in Switzerland, I've got migration written all over me. Not belonging to a category is a problem here. Even worse than belonging to a category Swiss have prejudices against. I'm neither friend nor foe, so for them, I'm nothing. Nothing to consider. Why do I have to be like that? I was so tired today. I could hardly stand up to finish the pieces that I'm going to perform in New York. Will that ever happen? I'm pessimistic again. Hi, Dad. I felt like weighing 1,000 kilos. May 31st, Tuesday. After arriving at JFK and going through the customs, I took my bag from the baggage claim. My bag seemed heavier. Did they put something in? Or had I just gotten lighter? I took the train to Manhattan through Brooklyn. After 1 hour, I arrived. Grand Street Station. I got out there. The station was pretty derelict, dirty. I looked for the exit. A long flight of stairs, and then slowly I reached the surface. The last steps. The handrail, the banister at the top. Behind that, New York. And I'm in it. Everything was busy. I felt good. Everything was new. I smiled. I went ahead and stood at a pedestrian crosswalk to cross the street. While waiting there next to other people, some of them appeared to be New Yorkers, some tourists, I noticed that there were trash cans at every corner of the intersection. Nonetheless, there was trash on the sidewalk and in the gutter. Disgusting, ugly. One could not identify what the substance was that had accumulated. But one thing I was able to identify. There was a flower growing from that dry mud. Are you kidding me? A flower growing in the gutter, and it actually survived long enough to blossom? I don't know flowers, so I don't know its species. But it looked beautiful. Partly because it grew there. You don't see stuff like that in Zurich. Like the people, the street cleaners are very thorough. Sterile streets. Nothing out of the ordinary supposed to survive. The street light turned to go. The people started moving across the street. I put down my bag, bent down, and touched the flower. No one noticed. No bitterness, no compulsion, just dirt and beauty. I didn't pluck the flower and went on. Eventually I reached the room I'm staying in. It is nice. I left my stuff there and went out. I felt antsy. Should I describe the atmosphere of the city as it was while it was getting dark? Should I tell about the people roaming the streets after dark? I saw all that, but actually remembered only one thing. No one of them seemed self-conscious. Everyone had her or his own business. How can that be? I thought when walking through a city you have to assess the other people and judge them a little. Oh no, wait. That is Zurich. On the streets of New York, frequently no one cares about you. If you want something, you need to make the others care, earn their attention. I stopped on the sidewalk. People walked by. No snide comments because I suddenly stopped, no demeaning glances, no assessment of my appearance. I looked around. A weight was lifted from me. I can finally behave as I like a weirdo. I smiled and happily went back to my room to sleep. Dream of the night of May 31st. I'm a little boy. I go out on a walk with my parents. It is a lovely day. We take the path we used to walk when we took walks in Germany. I'm never really close to my parents. I run ahead, enjoying the nature along the path. I go farther and farther away from my parents. At some point, they call me back. I turn back to them. They seem really far away. Suddenly I see a bird's nest in a bush along the path. I'm very curious. The little birdies have feathers already and are about to leave the nest. One of them is sitting on the edge of the nest and chirps. It leaps and flies away. I follow it in the direction it flies. I wake up. June 2nd, Thursday. I woke up at 7 a.m. I felt hungry. I took a shower and went outside. Going down Grand Street, I came by a diner, landmark diner. Delicious pancakes. After I had eaten and paid, I went on. I needed to get to Soho, to the Apple Store, to look for open mics today. It turned out there were two noteworthy ones. One at 1 and 1 bar, and one at Lucky Jack's. Both on the Lower East Side. Both started at 7. I decided to go to 1 and 1 bar. I had to kill some time until then, so looked for a 24-hour diner. I wanted to sit there and write, just like in the movies. Well, the movies I watch. I walked north on Broadway and indeed found a 24-hour diner near Astor Place. Cozy diner. I went in, and yes, this seemed like a place I would enjoy writing. It is hard to convey what made me feel good there. Maybe it was just the fact that this place never closes, very much like the city that never sleeps. I opened up my books on the table, ordered the mandatory coffee, and put my thoughts on paper. Hours passed, and the owner actually got curious. He asked me what I do. Picking up on the fact that I'm a writer, he told me to be cautious, not to tell my ideas to just anyone. They might steal them. He told me so because he once designed a car part and his design got stolen by a car company he was under contract with. So that's when he decided to establish his own design studio. "If you can beat them, fuck them," he said. And then he made a suggestive movement with his arm. His name was John. He has this design company and the diner. He must be doing well. I like his openness. At the wall above the counter, there were pictures and signatures of famous people who apparently had been to the diner. Jackie Chan and other celebrities. While we talked about what I do and that I'm trying to be an established writer, John pointed to the picture frames with the celebrities and said, "I want to see your picture up there one day." I was flattered and awed. 2 days in New York, and I already got more encouragement than 8 years in Switzerland. One bar on First Street had quite a spacious room downstairs, with a stage set up. I talked to the girl who sold the tickets, and it was $10 that night. I paid. I thought that's what open mics were like. You pay for other people to listen to you. Marvin, the owner of the bar, was very friendly to everyone. He said hello to me and asked me just general stuff. Where I was from, what I was doing here in New York. I told him that I was here to appear on open mics, and this here is my first one. Marvin got a puzzled look on his face. "There's no open mic today." "No open mic?" "No, tonight it's Squinchy's Poppycock." "Squinchy's Poppycock?" "Yeah, it's this awesome show. There's this guy." Marvin started telling me about the show I just had bought a ticket to without knowing. He went on and on about how hilarious this guy is, and I just looked at the clock on the wall. Could I still make it to Lucky Jack's, that other joint? At some point, I had to interrupt Marvin. Listen, I wanted to go to an open mic. I think I'll go somewhere else." "Oh, okay, buddy. I'm sorry." "Yeah, so could I get the $10 back?" "Well, don't you want to stay? This is a great show." "Yeah, I'm sure. Sorry, I really wanted to go to an open mic and appear on stage tonight." "Ah, we have an open mic on Tuesdays." "Oh, nice. Well, then I'll definitely come on Tuesday, but for today I think I need my money back." "Well, okay." I left the ticket and Marvin reluctantly handed me the $10. Before he let go of the bills, he said, "So, see you on Tuesday, Pally." "Yeah, thanks, bye." I saw to it that I got out of there as quick as possible and went on to my way to Lucky Jack's. It was really close, 129 Orchard Street. I arrived there, and they too had a room downstairs where they set up a stage, a really cozy atmosphere. I asked some guy how the whole thing worked, and he just told me to wait and see. It was going to start soon. There were a lot of people there. I was starting to get nervous, but they seemed very friendly. The host introduced himself and explained the rules. No admission fee. Lots with the names of the people wishing to appear were being thrown in a bucket and then drawn. That determined the order of appearance. Each artist got 5 minutes. They started pulling the lots. I went to place 17. That gave me some time to see the others and get familiar with the joint before I appear. There were a lot of people there who wanted to share their talent. People just like you and me, who felt the need to perform. I was moved and wanted to listen to the performances. There were comedians, musicians, other poets, and singers. I felt very much amongst my peers. No bad blood. No envy or competition. Just a joyful gathering aimed at basking in the pleasure created by performances from average people with hopes, dreams, strengths, and weaknesses. It all felt so very real. Before it was my turn, I went to the restroom to calm down and get rid of the stage fright. A little of it remained. I got on stage. My heart was beating. The host introduced me. He gave me the mic. I announced that I was going to perform 2 pieces, a poem and a monologue. I took a breath for my poem. Exhaustion. I found myself alone and scared on fate's entangled path. Many sources, sound advices, led me on and weighed me down, and so I moved and breathed to see what life to offer hath. My glance turned right, my glance turned left, unsure and worry-laden. Along the way, far and near, I gazed on mythic towers, Tall they stood, their peaks concealing sweet and pretty maiden. I would have liked to pluck and taste those blooming flowers. Oh, I remember how I used to fall to their temptation. Voices, stroking like an eyelid's flutter, made me climb up high to free that beautiful carnation. As I arrived, quickly closed they flung the shutter. Subdued by more and more sadistic pranks, weakness, hunger, make me frown. Low and deep my once so awesome spirit sinks. On the path, I sit down. Soon another maiden starts me calling and turns me bitter. I am too weak to play the game. She tries to jeer me with her word and calls me a quitter. That is not the case, I yell, although it looks the same. Suddenly she throws a piece of bread, along with catch. Hope awakens in my weary heart. The bread tastes sweet and heals me like a patch. Yes, up I stand and off to her tower I depart. I climb up, she looks down, I feel great strength. Her beauty so great it would make you stutter. Close I am now, yes, only just an arm's length. Bam, quickly closed, she flings the shutter. The title of the next piece is Guilty Conscience. What? Why are you looking at me like that? I'm sorry if it bothers you. It shouldn't. Why do you even care? I deserved the money and I got it. Simple as that. It's called merit. Okay, there's been an oil spill. Yeah, it was all over the news. People were freaked out. Yada, yada, yada. The point is, it was not my fault. Stuff has been investigated, and I have no legal liability. And you know why? Because what I do right. I do very good work. Just look at the numbers of the last fiscal year. I've earned some people 10 times what I get as a bonus now. Why don't you complain to them? Look, my job is a position with a lot of responsibility. A high-stress job. Daily I make decisions that affect the lives of thousands of people and their families. That puts me under an enormous pressure. Can you imagine that? Just see the bonus as a patch that heals me and gives me strength to keep on making important decisions and not having to care about the inanities of everyday life. You have to be high up and see far in order to lead. That bonus gives me wings. By the way, why are you complaining now? Nobody gave a rat's ass about me when I started my career. I had to work my way up from Harvard, go through hell to graduate, work on my career, and get this job. Do you know how many assholes I had to have dinners with and listen to the crap and do them favors so that one day they would do one for me in return? You have no idea! And it doesn't stop there. Oh no. I work hard every day. I wake up early, I work all day, and sometimes even until late at night. I'm always sore. I hardly see my wife and my children only on weekends. I love my children. And when I don't work, I'm tormented by worries. I can never relax. I am a hard-working citizen, and I deserve the money. As if you could relate to that. I sacrifice my ass out there. Daily I'm in danger of losing my job. Everyone holds me accountable. And you need me. What would you be if I wouldn't lead you? You know where? You'd be nothing. I'm sorry. You do important work, too. Everyone has the chance of becoming a leader. I was just lucky. I worked hard. And now I deserve the reward. Look, we're all worked up now. Let's just go home and take our mind off this. And keeping in mind that bonuses are justified, we should go over the whole issue again and start work fresh and relaxed in the morning. If by tomorrow you have any further thoughts, suggestions, or questions, my secretary would be happy to note them and hand them to me. I really do care. Speech of the CEO of Transocean. I spoke the last words. There was a silence for a fraction of a second. The audience realized I was done. The applause raised. It felt nice. Well, they are generous, I thought. I thanked the audience and packed up my sheets. Suddenly the host stood up and gave me his hand. Nice job! He took the mic and started to say how good that had been and how he admired my courage for saying the poems in front of so many people. And by heart. I was kind of flattered and thanked him too. I sat down and the woman next to me congratulated me to my pieces. I couldn't quite tell why so many people congratulated me, but I felt flattered. Something remarkable must have come out of my poems, although I didn't entirely understand what. The open mic went on. I felt relaxed and could really listen to the other performers. After the open mic was over, we all said goodbye to each other and went home. I was on my way to Grand Street. A feeling of lightness took me. Or maybe it was something more than light. I felt happy. I felt kind of high. This not because it went so well. No, the thing that really satisfied me was that I followed this calling that I felt within me beginning of the year, to plan a trip to New York and perform at open mics. It had all come together. It was real. Suddenly, the city didn't seem so dirty anymore. It just seemed New York. Dream of the night of June 2nd. I walk through the city of New York. I'm going through the Lower East Side towards Tribeca. There's burning stuff lying around. Papers, furniture, objects, trash. I make my way through it. I try to avoid the flames so that my nice clothes don't get burned. People come walking from Tribeca into my direction. Some I don't know. Some are the people I met at the open mic at Lucky Jack's. They burn, but they're calm. They see me and smile at me. I ask them what is going on, and they tell me that the Statue of Liberty is walking through the city setting fire to things with a torch. I go ahead. But now I'm scared that I will encounter the statue and she will ignite me. I try to take hidden streets, but by doing that, I come too close to burning debris, and my clothes catch fire. The fire doesn't hurt. I wake up. June 14th, Tuesday. I woke up late today. Went to get lunch right away. I came by this place that gives you your food in little plastic trays if you take it to go. I did so and walked around with 2 trays in my arms. One I kept in my left hand, the other on top of it, and eating from it. My journal was under my left arm. It was just some hamburger meat with lettuce and tomatoes. I walked north out of the Lower East Side on Bowery. I passed by quite a lot of homeless people. I tried to ignore them. I went ahead, and after a while I saw another of them lying in the entrance of some old building, sleeping on the doorstep. I stopped. I felt pretty full. I approached the sleeping homeless guy. No one of the passers-by took notice. Nobody cared. As I was really close to him, I looked at his face, tanned and marked by his time on the street. The expressions of sorrow had engraved their traits in his face. How long had he been living like this? Years and years of unresolved conflicts. Could I ever end up like this? I reached out with my hand and came very close to him, but actually never touched him, partly because I didn't want to wake him, partly because he seemed so dirty. Quietly I took the food tray I hadn't yet opened and placed it next to his head so that he would find it when he woke up. I left him like this. I would have loved to watch him from across the street to see how he reacts when he wakes up. But then I decided not to. As much as this sight compelled me to stay, it also made me want to leave. What is it with me in New York? What's different here? Well, for the first time in my life, I feel that my not belonging to any category, my not really belonging to a specific cultural background, is not a flaw. It isn't something that guarantees that I will be accepted and live well here, but at least it is not seen as a flaw. A lot of people who live here don't belong here. They create their story, their belonging here, through hard work and the pursuit of an ideal. I decided to go into Soho. Very strange people walking on the street there. I believe they are called hipsters. They dress carefully careless. And when you see them on the streets, you can tell that they are self-conscious. I wanted to tell them, hey, we're in New York, just be as you like. Don't care what the others think. But it seemed like they do want to care about what others think. When they walk, it seems like they are looking at themselves from across the street. They are their own toy, which they dress up in eccentric outfits and attitudes. I also have the feeling that if I would ask one of them, hey, are you a hipster? He would answer, I'm not a hipster, ignoramus. The toy cannot talk about itself. The human playing the hipster game is too caught up to make a statement. After a few hours of watching this peculiar phenomenon and other stuff, it got 7 p.m. Time for another open mic on St. Mark's Place. Penny's open mic. After Lucky Jack's, I wonder how that will be. I reached under St. Mark's Theater, and there were already a bunch of people waiting outside to be let in. I felt talkative and started to engage people in conversations, just small talk. I felt confident and eager to do another open mic. Suddenly, a guy on a bike came by and started distributing flyers he printed himself. He was going on about Penny, the girl who was going to host the open mic, and what a bad person she is. I read the flyer, and it seemed like a very hurt person had written it. Quote, Penny is the most anti-art jerk I've ever seen in the arts community, and she's so fake she'd make Los Angeles blush. Unquote. There was a lot more written on the flyer, but mostly I remember how I felt that somebody acting in this way must be wrong. However, I had too little information and now was scared of Penny. The door was being opened, and I expected this eccentric diva. But Penny was actually a really sweet girl. She was talking to everyone and welcoming everyone. No one had to feel left out. I was puzzled by why this guy outside was trying to bash her. The open mic started. I was on place 25. It got very late before I could appear on stage. There was a really nice and supporting atmosphere. When it was my turn, I got on stage and performed 2 monologues. The first one is called Solace. Hi, Allison. I hope those nods are not too tight. How have you been? I myself have been like crap. Since you made me break up with you, I can't sleep anymore. I can't eat. I can't think. I can't live anymore. I hate you so much. You know how that feels? No, of course you don't. Because you're already fucking around with other people. You know, people tell me to move on too. Can't. You broke me. You tore up my heart. Allison, You know that now I have to kill you. Stop crying. Why are you crying? You screwed me over. For every one of your tears, there's a million of mine. When you cheated on me, couldn't you imagine it would end like this? When you took his dick in your mouth, couldn't you imagine what sin that was? That same mouth, those silky lips with which you used to give me those tender kisses? Can't you understand that this is the only possible way? It is impossible that we both exist at the same time, Allison. I can't live anymore. The easiest tasks have become impossible for me, because the thoughts of what happened block my mind. I can't do stuff anymore. I can't go anywhere, because places remind me of you. I can't eat anymore, because we used to eat together. I can't walk anymore, because we used to walk together. I can't think anymore, because there's only you in my head. Allison, I'm so weary. I want to be healed. I want solace. I have to kill you. Then the world will be in order again, like it used to be before I met you. Of course I will have to go to jail, but that actually seems like paradise to me. Eternity in jail is better than having to carry on knowing that you will live and smile. I have to kill you, Allison. I have to kill you. There's no other way. You won't hurt me anymore. And we both will be at peace. This next one has its title at the end. Oh, look at her. She looks so good. She's coming over here. Hi, yeah, it's free, please. Oh my God, I can't believe it. She sat down in the seat right in front of me. Oh, that's wonderful. She smells so good. Oh yeah, go ahead, I'm not reading it. Oh, she has such an awesome body. Look at that skin. Flawless, bronze-toned, silk smooth. Fantastic. Her lips are so pouty, so swollen. Oh, there's still some moisture drying on them. Her neck, slender yet muscular. Her bust, so voluptuous, so meaty, so full. Awesome. Her round hips warm and tight. Oh, look at her legs, so slender and muscular. Amazing. I have to start talking to her. I simply have to ask her. But what if she says no? Oh God, I won't survive that. But if she says yes, it'll be like heaven. I simply have to do it. But I've been hurt so many times. I don't know if I can bear another rejection. I should simply do it. Nothing can happen. I have to do it. She looks so good. Oh my God, it would be so wonderful. It'll be like heaven. Nah, I can't do it. I'm too scared. Let me just wait another minute so that I can gain some confidence. Oh, my heart is beating. Boy, it's so loud. I hope she doesn't notice. Oh, I'm so nervous. My voice will be shaky anyways. Let's not do it. You pansy. Just get it over with. Nothing can happen. No, something can happen. It'll be awkward if she rejects me. But do I want to go through my whole life chickening out? You have to gamble in order to win. If you don't try, you don't win. Come on, take a deep breath. Ask her. If she says yes, all right. If she says no, move on. Come on, do it. Come on, do it. Be a man. Do it. Do it. Excuse me. You look delicious. May I eat you? The title was Cannibal. The funniest thing happened while I was performing my texts. Originally, I had written them in a very serious tone. They were exploratory pieces. As I performed them, people began to laugh. Not just chuckling. People were laughing loudly while I read Solace. I was confused, but could hide that feeling behind my performance. When doing Cannibal, people laughed as well. After I was done, I had to make sense of this. Why did people laugh as I performed my so seriously laid out texts? Did I perform them wrongly? Not earnest enough? Or was it so dark and scary that people couldn't cope with this? Or cope with this only by laughing about it? I don't understand. Anyways, at least no booing. So this evening was a success in my book. Penny's open mic ended pretty late, at 2 a.m. Fulfilled, I went home. The dreams already beginning to float in my mind. Soon, I'd sleep. Dream of the night of June 14th. I'm in a standing subway train. I want to smile at everyone and engage everyone. I feel very extroverted. Nobody cares. Suddenly, through the window outside on the tracks, I see a guy standing and smiling at me. I get scared. Stand up and yell, "Hey, there's a guy standing on the tracks. Help him. He's gonna die." One older man turns to me calmly and says, "Nah, he's living." The train is close to departure. The older man tells me to stop looking at myself and go out. I wake up. June 27th, Monday. Woke up, took a shower, and went to Landmark Diner. It has become my favorite place to have breakfast. As usual, I had pancakes. I felt happy until I watched out the window. I couldn't take my eyes off the business going on at a construction site across the street. Suddenly, I lost my appetite. I don't know why, but I stood up to go over there. I went out of the diner, and the waitress called me back to pay the bill. I was kind of embarrassed and paid. Then I went out again. I went over and started talking to the workers at the construction site. What were they building? They asked me why I would want to know. No reason. They said that condos were being built. After some talking, I walked back into the diner. I sat down again. The waitress set the table for me again, and I asked her if it was okay if I just sat there. She told me it was okay. I was afraid she was mad. I looked at the construction site for some time. Then I felt it. I have to stay here. I've never wanted something so strongly as a goal for my life. Suddenly I feel tense, tight. I want to stay here. Why? The reasons for my wanting haven't manifested yet. The wanting is there first. This is the place to be. Partly because for the first time in my life, by not belonging, I belong. It was 10 p.m. and I went to the open mic at Bowery Poetry Club. As I walk in there and sit down and watch the people coming in, I start getting it. Each open mic has its posse. Mostly people gathering around the hosts. Always the same people, slowly becoming friends. Then there are the open mic nomads, people like me that you see at various open mics, quiet, trying to interact with the other open micers, just moving around, wanting to express their art. As usual, I get a very late spot. I had to wait for long to get on, but eventually, my time came, and I performed 2 monologues and a poem. Family Feast. Good evening. My name is Gigino. I'm from Italy, from a small mountain town in the Italian Highlands. 4 years ago, I immigrated to the United States, to New York City. I like it here, but I'm very lonely. I miss the people back in Italy, my parents, my sisters and brothers, and especially my favorite cousin, Clemente. Clemente and I grew up together. He now owns his father's farm and produces meat products, which he sells on the local market. Actually, I flew back last Christmas, and the reunion was wonderful. You know, my family has a tradition. On Christmas Day, we would all meet at Clemente's and prepare and celebrate a wonderful feast. I'd like to share that wonderful experience with other people and wrote a guide to the preparation of such a celebration. I'd like you to have the same experience. The following instructions are for the preparation of a feast for 10 people. Wake up at 5 a.m. and take care of the animals on the farm. Make sure facilities are ready. A room with water connection, tubs, several tables, aprons. Prepare the instruments for butchering. A pointy knife with a blade of at least 13 inches, short and very sharp knives, a hammer, a sharp axe, cutting pliers. Meanwhile, your helpers should have arrived. Take them with you and enter the pen in a calm fashion so as not to startle. Choose a specimen and take it outside. Lead it to a secluded place where its death cries cannot be heard by the others left in the pen. You want to avoid commotion, since stress spoils the taste of the meat. 2 helpers press it to the ground and tie up its extremities. They distend its neck. Take the pointy knife with the 13-inch blade and place the nib over the artery in a way that you can perform a vertical movement into the neck. Apply pressure and feel how the nib cuts through the first layers of skin. Your helpers should maintain a firm grip now, since it will start to struggle violently. At some point, you should sever the artery. Keep on pushing through it and the muscular fiber behind it until you reach the vertebrae. As soon as you feel them, pull out the knife and let it bleed. When the blood flow stops and it has assumed a pale complexion, untie it and lift it on a low table. Now, pour boiling water all over it so that the outer layers of skin get boiled and come off easily. After having done so, you and your helpers take the short, sharp knives and chafe off the outer layers of skin. Tear off the horny parts with the cutting pliers. After having skinned it, spread its legs and tie them to a rod so that they remain spread. Lift the body up and hang the rod on a hook so that the body hangs the head down in a comfortable height and is accessible from all sides. Take any sharp knife and place it at the perineum. Perform a long vertical cut way down to the sternum. Now disembowel. Pay close attention that the contents of gut and bladder don't leak out. For that, you may tie a string around the sphincter from the inside. After having taken out all the organs, carefully cut off the head. Take the axe, place it on the pelvis in order to split the spinal column, and chop down using the hammer, always aiming to split it in half. Now remove the abdominal wall from each half of the body along with the underlying fat. Save it for later. That's what you make bacon out of. Now carry the two halves of the body into the room you prepared for butchering. You and your helpers may now cut off the extremities at the joints. On any piece of the body, carefully separate meat and fat from the bones. After having done so, separate the meat from the fat. Put the meat in one tub and the fat in another. Mix meat and fat in a third tub in a ratio that you think makes tasty sausages. I'd recommend 2-to-1. Put the substance through a meat grinder. Mix it with spices to your liking. Salt, pepper, cumin. Put the grinded and spiced matter into a sausage pump, with which you spray it into the cleaned guts of the specimen. Tie a string around the filled guts in distances of approximately 15 inches so that you obtain neat sausages and put them on the grill. Now everything should be ready. Set the table in a traditional fashion. Take the head you cut off earlier, wash it, and place it at the center of the table. Tie long hair to a ponytail. If it's short, comb it nicely. Be creative. Remove piercings and any prostheses. Sew the eyes shut. Set the rest of the table. As soon as the sausages on the grill are done, call your guests to dinner. Serve your favorite red wine. I'd recommend a Primitivo. Enjoy the sausages and celebrate an exhilarating feast. It's a good thing. The title of the next one is Lawsuit. Thank you, Your Honor. Dear ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're gathered here today to discuss a case that is very particular in its nature. Particular, for one, because it took a lot of courage for everyone involved in the prosecution to actually step forward, investigate, and file a lawsuit. It is particular also because of the accused, a figure that is not only prominent and very wealthy, but also extremely powerful. I'm talking, of course, about this individual, known in his circles under the codename God. It will be the aim of the prosecution to reveal his real intentions, and in doing so listing the crimes he's being prosecuted for. In the course of this trial, I will show that this God is in fact the criminal mastermind behind an organization so intricate and successful that by now it has spread around the globe and every major aspect of public life, as well as spreading to people's personal private life, abusing power and creating havoc. I'm talking about the system of power known under the codename Faith. The accused is charged with the following counts committed through the aforementioned organization. 1. The killing of every person who has ever lived. 2. Upholding of mankind's intellectual development since the invention of fire. 3. Countless acts of non-assistance of a person in danger, including the withholding of life-important resources whose deprivation put persons into life-threatening danger and in the majority of cases led to death. 4. Devising a Ponzi scheme, a system that takes advantage of desperate individuals, strips them of their money and belongings, and promises rewards at a point in time that lies after the person's death, including the failure to deliver said rewards. 5. Inflicting psychological damage for pleasure. This with the help of an accomplice known under the codename Devil. The latter would inflict grave misery upon an individual, after which God would show up and take advantage of this misery by luring the individual into his Ponzi scheme. And lastly, 6. Numerous cases of child molestation carried out in one branch of his organization through one despicable individual known under the codename Priest. Vile acts which were committed to innocent and underage members of his organization, made submissive and docile by the teachings of the very same organization. These, ladies and gentlemen, of the jury are the counts of the prosecution. As countless as the acts this God committed is the number of witnesses to his crimes, with whom we will prove the guilt of the accused and plead for the following sentence. 1. The resurrection of every person who has ever lived. 2. The dissolution of the organization known as faith. 3. Assistance with catching and sentencing his accomplice, devil. 4. A public apology for the harms done. 5. The revelation of the secret of life and the universal formula. And lastly, 7. A restraining order that impedes the accused from committing further crimes by banishing him from earth. Furthermore, if any of the members of the jury should fear any repercussions for sentencing this individual guilty, I'd like to assure them that he has only as much power over you as you allow him to have. My colleagues from the prosecution and I have found during our work that reason is an effective weapon against his attempts of gaining influence, and by applying it, his efforts are futile. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Your Honor. This next one is a poem. It's called The Voice. It was a day as plain as this, when a mother and her little boy dwelled in nature's bliss. As happiness lifted their moods up high, a strange creature, a dove, caught the boy's eye. Startled by this wondrous sight, he stood there as if being struck by a fright. The form, the smoothness, the color, the sight so fair, the boy fell in love with the dove and felt light as air. Enchanted by the sweetness of love so pure, he approached the dove, this enticing lure. A sudden rising of his spirit, he felt invigorated, alive and awake, wanting to catch the bird, being sure it was his to take. Full of joy and distracted, the mother noticed the scene, surprised at seeing her boy moving so keen. Suddenly she felt it again, that fear to lose her love, helplessly seeing it disappear, take flight like a dove. What was she supposed to do? He seemed hypnotized and bound to move away. A trick, a spell, an order, or what would compel him to stay? She knew. She is his mother, and he has to obey her command. So she shouted, "Stop, stay here," and grabbed his hand. Having avoided the loss, it is not enough, she thought. He shall never attempt it again, and make her feel fraught. Now talking at him. "Don't run, it's in vain. You won't catch it anyways." She was convinced her speech was good. It'll make sure that he stays. Her son felt her hand as it grabbed his small wrist, pulling him away from the dove. He couldn't resist. He listened to her speech and heeded her word, wondering how it could be wrong, wanting to love that bird. This was one remarkable day in the life of mother and son. Little did they know that it was going to haunt them what had been done. The boy grew up to be tall, handsome, and strong, only to live life in pain, not knowing what was wrong. This pain isn't always there, only at times like these. Whenever something catches his eye, an alluring tease, he sees a wonderful girl with great class and beauty. Suddenly, he feels that pain, as if he was neglecting a duty. Feeling compelled, he wants to approach the girl. He feels nervous and excited. His thoughts start to swirl, but he stops, held back by a voice that causes great pain, it telling him not to attempt it, for it will be in vain. So the boy takes the easy way out, withdrawing, not allowing his curiosity to sprout. Taking long walks, he examines his feelings, feeling sad about why he can't engage in those dealings. Determined to overcome the sadness and live with ease, he wants to find a girl, wishing for the loneliness to cease. He sees one, unsightly and snooty. Not caring much about her, he has to imagine her beauty. Feeling nothing at all, he approaches the girl. He feels calm and bored. She sure is no pearl. Confidence leads him, he can only gain. Everything goes smoothly, for where there's no love, there's no pain. Nothing holds him back, because there's no harm to expect. The voice is pleased, there's no need to protect. Why on earth should he try hard and aim high? For he could fail, and ambition could make him cry. Now he has a girl, a mate. He should feel safe and sleep sound, for the happiness he was looking for, he has finally found. However, on some nights he would wake up and cry in his bed. There's something off, it appears. This boy remains empty and sad. He walks through his apartment, feeling pinched on the nerves. The voice trying to calm him down, he has what he deserves. Suddenly, he's struck with surprise. The voice is his mother's, talking out of fear. Her angst, her terror, that is in him. He can feel it. It becomes clear. This performance went well. Not extraordinary, but well. Something really moving happened afterwards. A musician, also appearing at the open mic before me, liked my works. He asked me to send him the poems via email so he can put them in his textbook and read them for inspiration. I was really flattered. After having a little small talk with him, I left Bowery Poetry Club and just enjoyed the night. In front of the club, there was a sycamore tree growing. I stood in front of it and watched it. After a while, I noticed that in between the roots, there was a flower growing and blossoming. What? Another flower growing here on the street? And blossoming after midnight? Just like the flower I saw in the gutter on my first day. Right then and there, I got on my knees. The people standing in front of the club around me didn't care. I touched the flower and smelt it. It smelled delicious. Dream of the night of June 27th. I'm walking through the city of New York. People on the street start climbing on fences. They start dancing on them. After a while, they call me and tell me to join them. I want to join and ask them where there are ladders so that I can get up. They respond that I have to climb up myself, or it is no fun. I wake up. June 28th, Tuesday. I went to an event organized by the New York Writers Coalition. It is called the Write-a-thon, a charitable event where you donate $150 and you can spend a day there doing workshops and writing. I wanted to get to know some fellow writers from New York, so I took part. The people there were really nice. I took part in a workshop. It was a class with like 12 people, and we got little tasks to write about. During that class, I noticed a bird outside the window on the windowsill. It didn't seem shy at all, and I believe it was a robin. It just behaved remarkably playful. Anyways, all in all, the workshop was about making us feel comfortable to write. We were asked to write down a question on a piece of paper and then exchanged those questions and wrote an answer. The question I had to write an answer to was, does anything ever truly end? My answer was the following poem. Does anything ever truly end? I am the universe. I am anything. I don't end. Everything within me ends. Nothing within me can be unending, for then it would cease to be it and turn out to be me. I am man. I am something. I end. Everything around me ends as well, for it is something too. In my audacity, I strive for eternity only to discover vanity. To my surprise, the people were impressed by my poem. I was asked to read it again, and they enjoyed it. It pleases me that I was able to write something that seemed to touch people in a way. My mood really lifted. The workshop ended, and shortly after that, the write-a-thon. After the event, I stepped on the streets, and suddenly it felt like the city had just noise. No clear voices or sounds of people. Just ambiance sounds. So soothing. I started walking and just enjoyed that high I was on. Suddenly the weather changed from rainy to sunny and really warm. I kept on walking, and after a while I reached Washington Square Park. I stopped there. As I looked around me, I noticed a bird again. It was a robin. Was it that robin from outside the window when I was in the writing workshop? Has it followed me all the time? Washington Square Park was beautiful. There was a lot of people. Somebody played music. I decided to lie down on the grass. After a while, to my astonishment, I noticed the bird next to me on the grass. I never saw something like that. It wasn't shy at all and jumped around me lively. I just watched it. It was really feisty. At some point, it started pecking my arm. I asked it, "Who are you?" With the bird in my view, I closed my eyes. The sun made it seem like my eyelids were on fire. I enjoyed the glow and slowly drifted into sleep. I had never felt so light before. Suddenly I feel a thud. I erect myself in terror. I'm in Zurich on my crappy bed, in my crappy room. I'm wet of sweat. It is 3 p.m. I can still feel the jet lag. My limbs are heavy, 1,000 pounds. I stand up and try to go about my day like I used to do in New York. I don't even feel the want to go somewhere, just collapse into my bed again. Going into a cafe would be nice, like in New York. To watch people, to think and to write. There are a lot of cafes in Zurich too. I go to one, only to realize that there's nothing happening on the streets. Gray people in a gray city. The streets are not a place here. They are just transit. Dream of the night of July 3rd. I approach the garden. It has beautiful fruits. I cannot enter. The garden is surrounded by a thick and high hedge. Finally, the hedge carries berries that are little heads of people. I walk along the hedge to find a way in. Suddenly, I encounter an old woman who tells me that there is a way through the hedge. I look for it. I wake up.